How to Get Away with Murder just concluded its fifth season of murder and mayhem, and I am here with Emmy winner Glynn Turman, who had a recurring arc as Nathan Leahy Sr., a role that might just earn him another Emmy in September. Who knows?
Oh, you're living the God's ear.
I'm Kevin Jacobsen, contributing writer at Gold Derby, which pools awards predictions of experts and thousands of fans like you. So, Glenn, you are playing this role as kind of a prisoner who is greatly disadvantaged by the justice system and the prison system, and really represents a really horrible injustice in America that's been happening for years and still happens today. Which is, systemic racism and the stigma about mental health and rehabilitation that affects so many Americans, particularly African Americans today. And so, when you were playing this part, did you feel the sense of responsibility to just push yourself and make sure you got this struggle right?
Yeah, that's a way of putting it. But what was more in the forefront of my mind in taking this role was the idea that I had a chance to pay homage to my father. So this role was very personal to me. The whole storyline has been a very personal storyline for me. And I did this in dedication to him. Uh, he was a man who was all too familiar with this system. And we as a family are all too familiar with the system as a result of his experience.
Yeah. Wow. So, when it comes to How to Get Away with Murder, I think there's a lot to keep up with, a lot of different plates spinning at the same time. So, like, how did you approach this material when you signed on in season 4 and into season 5? Like, did you try to soak in all the different storylines or just try to hone in on Nate Sr. and his backstory?
Well, I've watched the show over the years. You know, of course, I'm a Viola Davis fan. And, you know, I jumped at the opportunity to work with her. You know, and so that, along with the script being tailored, so to speak, to have a chance to sit down with the authors and discuss the perils of the character and some of the foundations of what they were trying to build for this new season. It was an inclusive process, and being included in the building of this storytelling was a very wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. And well, speaking of Viola Davis, we should definitely talk about how you share the screen quite a bit with her in both seasons. So she's been in the business for quite a while. So have you. So what was that experience of that working relationship on set?
Well, it was just great. You know, she's a you know if you were a musician, you know, and I sometimes like to compare uh, our art to that of musicians, because it's like give and take. It's like playing instruments with one another, you know, and so you know it's feeding off of each other, and she's one of the best at that, and I was just overjoyed to have the opportunity to work with such a talent.
Oh yeah. And you also had shared the screen with a lot with Billie Brown, who
Yeah,
plays
Big Bill Brown, that's my
yes.
boy.
Yes, who plays your son in the show. And you guys are dealing with some heavy material and a pretty complex relationship. So, can you just talk a little bit about that relationship between the two characters and also just the two of you as actors playing them?
Well, you know, black men in this business seldom, unfortunately, get a chance to delve with responsibility into the relationships that are forged uh, in our communities. You know, we're kind of uh, pigeonholed as to our experiences being just one particular way. You know, and this was an opportunity to uncover, peel back some of the layers of what makes a complex and just a complex relationship that has a history in the Black community for Black men, and to share it with the audience so that the audience might get a better glimpse of what all goes into the frustrations, the love, the estranged circumstances. This was an opportunity to do that, and Bill was right there. We were just on the same page with this whole thing. We both had a lot in common, and was able to translate it onto screen.
Yeah. And so I have to ask, I'm going to issue a little spoiler warning here for those who haven't seen the entirety of season 5 of How to Get Away with Murder. I suggest you jump ahead a few minutes. How did you ultimately feel about what happens to Nate Sr. in the end, the fate of Nate Sr.? How did you react to that on the page?
That sucks. That's it's it was oh so it was so real, but sucked both artistically and in the reality of it all. So it's trying not to give a spoiler alert. It was a terrible fate, and everybody was rooting for this character, as fans have come up to me and expressed. And so in that instance, it was great that it took everybody by surprise, and the writers and the company did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it's very, very real and heartbreaking, what happens there. So I definitely wanted to ask just if there was anything unique about the set of How to Get Away with Murder that you felt kind of separated it from other projects that you've worked on recently.
The set?
Yeah, just the environment of working with these people.
Well, no, it's just it's a well-oiled machine. They really honed it. The producers have hired the people who pay attention to detail, so that we had the best of everything available. And everyone is so entrenched in their characters by this time. So it was wonderful to work with all of these young people who are forging wonderful careers for themselves. The other thing that happened, as Cicely Tyson was part of one of the episodes that I appeared on. She had been appearing on the show previously, and so her work and getting to work with her again, as we did many years ago, where she played my mother in a motion picture we did with James Earl Jones called The River Niger. So to work with her again after all these years, and how wonderful she was to work with at the age of 92, and how sharp she was. So the show brought on people who, the Shondaland is just a hell of a land. It's a wonderland, and it's no wonder that they turned out such great material.
Oh yeah, excellent cast all the way through to the guest stars for sure. So you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about people coming up to you, like on the street. Like, how has the response been to you being on How to Get Away with Murder? Like, I know you have this long career, but are people recognizing you very specifically for the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Just on the plane coming in the other day, I was coming back into LA, and boy, the young stewardess, she was just like, got to take a picture. I just watched you. You just died. You just died. I got to have a picture. So, it's wonderful to, as you mentioned, I've been in this business a long time, but it's a show like this that keeps me in the forefront of this generation of theater and TV viewers. It keeps me current, and I'm just really grateful to be a part of, still on the scene in the top show, on the networks, on the top network. and to have a whole new generation of young people, identify with me, with Nate Senior. You're Nate's dad. So it's just been great.
Yeah. Well, you won an Emmy for Best Guest Actor in a Drama Series back in 2008 for your performance in Treatment as Blair Underwood's character's father. And you had gotten a handful of awards earlier in your career, but not necessarily a lot of those major award nominations up to that point. And, I was looking over like who you beat at the Emmys that year, and you were up against some pretty stiff competition. We got like Charles Durning, Robert Morse, Oliver Platt, Stanley Tucci, and Robin Williams. I
Yes.
mean,
Kind
so
of tough boys.
yeah. So what did that recognition mean for you at that point in your career to not only get an Emmy nomination, but to actually win?
Well, it meant the world to me. It was a fantastic honor. Like you said, the competition, if you want to call it competition, I guess that's what it is. I'm not trying to be modest, but I guess that's what it is. But was great. Some of the actors I had worked with before. Charles Durning, we had worked together before. But it's always wonderful to have your peers recognize you and recognize your work and think that you're worthy of such a high esteemed prestigious award. And so I didn't know. My joke was, hey, what do I do with this thing? Maybe I weld it on the hood of my truck. That was just what I just wanted everybody to see it, the world to see it. But there it sits on the mantle, and it's a reminder of a job well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you find that that Emmy win actually affected your career in a positive way?
Well, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It affects your career in a positive way, just in the fact that, now I don't have to go through my whole resume when I'm being introduced. Now I just say Emmy Award winner.
Just plant the Emmy Award right on the table.
Just put it on the table. Just leave it at that. But yeah, but all jokes aside, it's something that the industry is aware of, and it speaks for itself.
Yeah. And you've certainly had an extensive career dating all the way back to the 60s. So, like, I wanted to know what kinds of changes that you've observed just in the industry, both
Oh my God.
positive and negative, and how that has affected you as an actor.
Well, just so many changes, and a lot of it has to do with what we were struggling with earlier today. With technology. The
Yeah.
technology has changed so much of the way one approaches the business. In terms of even submitting yourself for roles. Actors now, don't even go in to see or talk with casting directors or producers or directors. You can send your entire career on a link, and there it is in somebody's office, and so that's really like amazing to me, how that works, uh, and I guess it's for the good, I don't know for sure, but I guess it's for the good, um, and in terms of how many people are in the business and able to do their own thing, so to speak. The films that are coming out by young people these days coming out of film schools and being able to pursue a career and put their ideas, on the streaming networks and so on and so forth. So that's all good. And that, especially for people of color and minorities who are now able to get into the fray. It's not, without worrying so much about if I don't have $60 million, it can't be done. You can do it. You can, and that's what I tell young people now. You got at your fingertips what we didn't have at our fingertips when I was your age in this business.
Mm.
So no excuses. Let's do it.
I love it. You're also currently on the CBS limited series, The Red Line, which is airing right now. And it's another series that kind of deals directly with what's happening in America right now, kind of like what you were doing with How to Get Away with Murder. And
Right.
so at this stage in your career, are these kinds of projects that are very relevant to what's happening now drawing your attention more? Or is it just about like a good part is a good part?
Yeah, you know, they're coexisting. You know, the times are ripe. You know, there's enough out there that fluff doesn't cut it. You know, there's enough out there that there are issues that need to be tackled, and I'm just grateful that I'm still around to lend a voice to some of these events. You know, Ava DuVernay is like Shonda Rhimes is, you know, one of the major voices and forces in the entertainment industry today, and I'm just so glad that these two powerful women have, you know, given me the nod now and again to help try to make their stories what they want them to be.
Yeah, it's great. And as we kind of wrap up, I was wondering if you had any sort of advice for other actors, younger or older, just about having the kind of sustained career that you have had in this business.
Well, you know, I don't. Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. You know, for those of you who don't know, that's an old reference to a Godfather movie, which you might not know. But but being uh, conscious of what you do and as good at what you do as you possibly can be has always been one of my mantras. You know, I want to do well. I want to do what I do well. You know, as well as I possibly can. It's a craft, so it's a non. You can never stop learning about it and how to go about it. So for the youngsters, I say, you know, fortify yourself in the knowledge of the craft. Uh, if you can, and you're going to be in this, it's a good idea to be in it for the love of it because it's really a tough way to go. And to go for it for anything else that is so fleeting, such as fame or money, that's often not worth the battle scars. You know, I often say, you know, if you're going to stab me in the back, use some of the holes that are there already. You know, don't make any new holes because it's that kind of a business. It's a tough business. And the only reason I'm still here as a result and able to patch up those holes is because I just love it so much. You know, I get to work with some great people, say some wonderful things, some wonderful words. And so that keeps me going. And, you know, for us old timers who are still here and still doing it, you know, that's it right on.
Right on. That's beautifully said. And so thank you so much, Glynn Turman, and good luck at this year's Emmys.
Thank
Uh,
you.
for everyone else, please hit the subscribe button for more great Emmy interviews and go to goldderby.com to make those Emmy predictions right now.
Appreciate you. Thank you.